Hello, everyone. Let me tell you something most people overlook. Not because they don't care, but because they're too distracted to see it. You cannot fix your life by trying to fix everything outside of you. You can't force your career, your relationships, your goals to fall into place until you do the hard, internal work of turning inward and facing yourself, fully and honestly. That's what true focus on yourself really means. It's not bubble baths and vision boards. It's raw, it's uncomfortable, and it's powerful. You have to begin with radical self-awareness. And when I say radical, I mean uncompromising, unapologetic honesty with yourself. No filters, no excuses. Most of us are living on autopilot, numb to our own patterns, justifying toxic habits, clinging to old identities because they're familiar. But here's the truth. You cannot change what you refuse to confront. You can't grow beyond what you pretend not to see. And yet, that's where most people get stuck, narrating their lives from a script they didn't even write. Focusing on yourself means asking the uncomfortable questions. Why do I react that way when I feel rejected? What belief keeps pulling me back into procrastination? Whose voice am I still trying to please in my head? It's in that space, where you start listening to the deeper layers of your own behavior, that change becomes possible. Because the moment you can name the pattern, you can rewire it. The moment you see yourself clearly, you begin to reclaim control. And listen, this isn't about overthinking or overanalyzing. It's about observing, becoming the witness to your own life. When you pay attention without judgment, something remarkable happens, clarity. You start to notice the choices that are draining you, the people who aren't aligned with your growth, the environments that shrink you. You begin to understand the role you've played in creating your circumstances, and more importantly, the role you can play in changing them. The problem is, we're trained to look everywhere else but inward. We scroll, we compare, we escape into busyness, but here's the wake-up call. Nothing changes until you change. Not your job, not your partner, not your future. You can't outsource your transformation. Focusing on yourself means getting still enough to hear the truth within you, before the world tells you who to be. And that kind of inner work isn't a one-time event. It's a practice, a discipline. But every time you do it, every time you catch yourself slipping into old stories and consciously choose a new response, you're reclaiming your power. You're building self-trust. And from that foundation, everything else becomes easier. Because when you understand yourself deeply, you move differently. You set stronger boundaries. You make sharper decisions. You no longer chase. Because you know who you are, and you let that truth guide your next move. So if you want your life to fall into place, don't look outward for answers. Start within, sit with yourself, study yourself, and most importantly, honor what you discover. Because the moment you fully see yourself is the moment the world begins to see you differently too. Let's get real about something that's silently running and often ruining our lives, the need for external validation. It's one of the most powerful forces shaping our decisions, our self-image, and even our dreams. And here's the kicker. Most people don't even realize they're living for applause they don't actually need. They wake up every day unconsciously performing, modifying their behavior, hiding their truth, silencing their instincts, just to be liked, accepted, or praised. And the worst part, it feels normal, it feels like survival, but it's not growth, it's a trap. Focusing on yourself means learning how to disengage from that trap. Not because validation doesn't feel good, it does. We're wired for connection, and approval lights up the reward centers in the brain. But the moment you need that approval to feel worthy, to feel secure, to feel enough, you've handed over control of your life. You've placed yourself, worth in the hands of other people's moods, opinions, and projections. And there is no freedom in that. Think about it. How much of your life has been shaped by fear of what others might think? The career path you chose, the things you've stayed silent about, the times you said yes when every fiber of your being was screaming no. That's not just a habit. That's a form of self-abandonment. Every time you prioritize how you're perceived over who you truly are, you widen the gap between your life and your potential. And that gap, it's what creates the anxiety, the confusion, the exhaustion. Here's the truth. People's opinions are a mirror of their own experiences, not your value. Their judgment doesn't define you. Their approval doesn't complete you. You don't owe anyone an edited version of yourself just to be accepted. When you begin to focus on yourself, when you begin to tune in instead of reaching out, you stop performing. You start showing up as you are. And when you do that consistently, something incredible happens. You begin attracting what's asterisk meant asterisk for you, not what you had to chase, beg for, or earn. This shift is psychological and philosophical. Psychologically, you're retraining your nervous system to feel safe in your authenticity, to no longer associate truth with threat. Philosophically, you're moving from a reactive life to a principled one. You're no longer living to be seen. You're living to see to see who you are clearly and unapologetically, and to let that be enough. Letting go of external validation is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. It's about trusting that when you're rooted in truth, the right people, the right opportunities, the right outcomes will come, not because you forced them, but because you made space for them. When you stop chasing acceptance, you start attracting resonance, and that changes everything. So the next time you feel the pull to please, to impress, to seek permission, pause, ask yourself, who am I doing this for? And if the answer isn't rooted in your own values, your own truth, step back, refocus, because the life you want isn't found in their applause. It's found in your alignment. If there's one truth we need to face head on, it's this: your energy is your most valuable currency. Not time, not money, energy, because without the right energy, your time is wasted. Without the right energy, money doesn't multiply, it drains you. Yet most people go through life spending their energy like it's limitless, on distractions, on people who deplete them, on habits that numb rather than nourish. And then they wonder why they feel stuck, burned out, or like life just isn't working. But here's the secret. When you start focusing on yourself, you begin making different energy investments. And that changes everything. Think about where your energy goes on a typical day. How much of it is spent reacting instead of creating? How much of it is spent worrying about things you can't control, saying yes to things you don't even want to do, overthinking conversations that already happened? Every single one of those moments has a cost. And the longer you ignore it, the more it accumulates into frustration, fatigue, and that gnawing sense that something's missing. But nothing is missing. You're just mismanaging the most important asset you have. When you truly begin to focus on yourself, you stop asking do I have time for this? And you start asking do I have energy for this? And that question alone is a game changer, because now you're prioritizing alignment over obligation. Now you're choosing where to show up fully rather than scattering yourself thin. This is where clarity lives. This is where progress lives, not in doing more, but in doing what matters with more presence and intention. And here's where the psychology kicks in. Your nervous system doesn't lie. It knows what drains you. It knows what fuels you. But we've been trained to override it, to normalize burnout, to glorify hustle, to chase goals even when they're misaligned. But if your goals are costing your peace, your health, your identity, are they really goals, or are they just distractions in disguise? Focusing on yourself means becoming brutally selective. It means setting boundaries not to keep people out, but to keep your energy in. It means saying no even when it's uncomfortable, and yes only when it's in alignment. Because every yes is a withdrawal, and every no is a deposit back into your reserves. That's not selfishness, it's self-respect. And once you begin to protect your energy like the priceless resource it is, everything shifts. You think clearer. You move with purpose. You stop getting derailed by minor things because your energy is focused on major impact. People feel the difference in you. And more importantly, you feel the difference in yourself. That's the kind of shift that builds momentum, that invites breakthroughs, that creates lasting transformation. So the question you need to ask yourself isn't, what do I need to do today? It's where does my energy belong today? Because the life you want is already within reach. You just need to stop leaking energy long enough to rise and claim it. We've been conditioned to think that transformation comes from big, dramatic shifts, some grand breakthrough, some perfect moment when everything suddenly clicks. But that's a myth. Real change, the kind that actually lasts, comes from something far less glamorous, small, consistent habits. Tiny actions repeated over time. That's it. That's the real magic. And here's where it gets profound. Those small actions don't just change your behavior. They change your identity. When you start focusing on yourself, you realize that every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every time you get up when you say you will, every time you move your body, every time you choose focus over distraction, that's not just a habit. That's you proving to yourself that you can trust your own word, and that trust, that's the foundation of confidence, not hype, not ego. Confidence built on earned respect for yourself. This isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about deciding, this is who I want to be, and then backing it up with action, every single day, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's boring. Especially then, because it's in those ordinary moments, the ones no one sees, where the extraordinary version of you is quietly being built. Let me be clear, this is not about productivity for the sake of being busy. This is about self-respect. This is about doing the thing you promised yourself you would do, even when motivation is gone. That's discipline, and discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you could be. Think of it like compound interest. You don't see the benefit right away. You don't wake up after 1 week of showing up early, journaling, or setting boundaries and suddenly feel transformed. But give it 21 days, give it 90, give it a year. The shifts you'll see aren't just in your results. They'll be in how you carry yourself. Your mindset sharpens, your energy elevates, your life starts to feel lighter, clearer, and more purposeful. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And here's the psychology of it. When you build micro habits that align with your highest self, you begin to rewrite the story your brain believes about who you are. The person who used to say, I'm not disciplined, becomes the person who doesn't miss a workout. The person who used to say, I always procrastinate, starts their day with intention. Over time, your brain updates your identity, and once you see yourself differently, you behave differently, effortlessly. That's the quiet power of self-focus. You don't announce your growth. You don't need applause. You just live it, and people feel it. So if you're serious about transforming your life, don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the mood to strike. Pick one small habit, one shift, one choice, and repeat it. Build that trust, and let that momentum pull you forward. Here's the part that almost no one talks about, but it's the truth behind every lasting transformation. Your outer world is always a reflection of your inner world, always. The chaos, the clarity, the success, the stagnation. It all mirrors what's going on inside of you. You can change your job, your location, even the people around you, but if the internal patterns remain unchanged, you'll eventually recreate the same problems in a new setting. Why? Because energy leads, outcomes follow. When you start focusing on yourself, not in a surface-level way, but deeply, you begin to see the threads connecting your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, and your reality. You start noticing how your self-talk affects your confidence, how unresolved wounds shape your relationships, how unspoken fears limit your decisions. And as uncomfortable as that awareness can be, it's also where your power lies. Because once you recognize the internal roots, you can stop just trimming the external branches and actually transform the whole tree. It's not mystical, it's psychological. Your brain is a prediction machine. It constantly interprets the world based on the filters you've built through past experiences, traumas, beliefs, and conditioning. If you believe people can't be trusted, you'll overlook the ones who are honest and attract those who match your fear. If you believe you're not worthy of success, you'll self-sabotage the moment it comes close. And if you walk around carrying emotional chaos inside, you'll subconsciously invite chaos outside to match what's familiar. But here's the shift. When you start healing internally, your external reality begins to shift without force. The things you used to tolerate no longer feel acceptable. The environments that once drained you become misaligned. People sense your energy before you speak, and when your internal world is grounded in clarity, self-worth, and focus, it creates a ripple effect. You start magnetizing better opportunities, deeper connections, and more aligned outcomes, not because you chased them, but because you became the version of yourself that naturally attracts them. This is why focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's strategic. The more centered and aligned you are internally, the more powerful and clear your presence becomes. And people respond to that. Life responds to that. You don't have to manipulate or control anymore. You just have to stay rooted in the work you're doing on yourself. That's where true influence and transformation come from. So, if your life feels out of balance, don't just rearrange the external pieces. Turn inward, ask yourself, what inside of me is this reflecting? And if you have the courage to sit with that question and do the work it leads you to, everything around you will begin to shift, not all at once, not in a dramatic movie, scene moment, but quietly, powerfully, and inevitably.